us like just the briefest mention of Balrogs in this, because the Silmarillion does not feel like the text where that's going to be explored. It doesn't feel like this is
You haven't read the Silmarillion yet.
That's true. Okay.
No.
How about this?
No, I'm Robert.
And I'm Evelyn.
And we're talking about it.
it.
Hey, we did it right twice in a row.
That was the only thing we did right the first time. But we did it twice. So hi everyone. We've been a bit on a hiatus, but we are back for our big season 9. Unfortunately, we had to put a pin in our season 8, The Hobbit stuff, purely because just trying to schedule around everyone else's schedules and finding time for all of us has been just really tricky with life events. I mean, just my dad and I, since we live in the same house, it was tricky. We've been doing this recording right now because the spring has just kicked our butts health-wise.
Yes.
But we are excited to, I guess, start season 9 before season 8 is officially over. But we are in the long-awaited Silmarillion. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Silmarillion. Okay, got it right. I honestly did not think I was pronouncing it right. I will be perfectly frank with you. There's still a lot more I probably can't pronounce. But yeah, this one is back to Evelyn not knowing anything territory.
Yay! So I can tell you anything I want, and you'll believe it.
I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, we are about to start the Silmarillion. This is going to be a 2-episode season premiere. We're going to talk about a little bit about like the foreword and the Silmarillion and the season in general. And then the next episode, we're going to be talking about the preface to the 2nd edition and the letter that Tolkien wrote, kind of introducing the Silmarillion
To his editor.
To his editor and everything. So that's our big season opener. A lot of information, a lot of info dump, but at least this time I was prepared for the info dump versus the first couple chapters of Lord of the Rings, which if you listen to that, you guys know what we're talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hell, that's why it took me so long to read it in the first place, because I just never got past chapter 2 before we finally did this podcast, because we were, it was COVID and we were bored and we decided to finally do this. And now it's 2026 and we're still going, apparently.
6 years.
Yeah, that is wild. But hey, I have officially read Lord of the Rings, and I now appreciate it. So hey, something came out of this, right?
That's right.
So I guess
if we can just get through the Hobbit.
Yeah, we got halfway, but yeah, just life from everyone. Good life events just made things very busy for everyone.
Right.
All right, so I guess we should just kind of dive in with the foreword and then kind of talk about the background of the Silmarillion a little bit and what you're going to see this season.
So one of the things I want to point out is that, a lot of people do not read forewords of books.
I will admit,
I used to be one of those.
Yes, same.
And I forget which book it was that I read the foreword to, and I went, oh, I should have been reading these all along. That was several years ago.
I mean, I also used to be really bad at reading the foreword until last November. I officially became a convert, where it was the mermaid book, Whispers of the Deep, where the foreword, the very last paragraph is, marine biologists, please do not read. I know the science is wrong. And I had at least 5 or 6 different people send me that foreword, and that's what made me read the book. And so from there, I have had a deep appreciation for forewords. I'm not going to go into it, but note it is a rated M book for a lot of reasons. Just warning. But anyway, Shout out to that book though, because I still appreciated it as a marine biologist. I thought the science was interesting, but that's not what we're talking about here. That's the rabbit hole for me. Anyway, forewords.
So it's often an overlooked gateway into the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's kind of, I would say at least 50% of the forewords that are written
Mm.
are like that too. But I think it's particularly important for the Silmarillion that it does that. Um, I mean, he notes that he took battered notebooks that went all the way back to 1917.
Well, who wrote it? Who says that in the
Oh,
foreword?
I'm sorry,
I think you missed a crucial part.
Christopher Tolkien.
Yes, the son of Tolkien.
And this is second edition.
Yes.
Because in the first edition, it's a preface from J.R.R. himself.
Right. But this forward it's by Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son, about how he attempted his best. I love how I feel like that's half the forward where he's like, guys, I did my best here.
Right.
There's so much information.
I know. I'm going to talk about that. I mean, he talks about,
Well, before we get into what he talked about, I just want to throw out my own info dump so people kind of get a reference. So, The Silmarillion was published 4 years after J.R.R. Tolkien's death, but he had been working on it previously. And the way that it's organized, for the most part, is what his own wishes were for it. And the Silmarillion itself, or the foreword itself, was written in 1977 by Christopher. And like I said, we mentioned before, like the compilation of notes come from as early as 1917, and that
the second edition came out a little over 20 years after the first edition.
Yeah, I want to say it was 1994 is what he says in the preface to the second edition, 1999. So
1979.
no, the preface is unless that's my dyslexia, I'm gonna pull up the actual book. Give me 2 seconds. No, yeah, 1999.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
for the second edition. Yeah, but that's still like much longer than so 1970.
It was the forward that I was thinking.
Yeah, the foreword was written in 1977. Yeah, so
So he talks about, he took stuff from battered notebooks that went all the way back to 1970, which part of those are published in Lost Tales Book 1 and Book 2, but it was mostly unpublished.
mhm,
Now, I have a question for you.
mhm,
So Christopher notes that the words that J.R.R. wrote changed over the years. The notes changed over the years.
mhm.
So do you think part of that might have been life experiences? And I'm going to tell you, it does. I think that way. And these are some of the life experiences I think that may have changed his perception of how to write the book.
Well, maybe because the way that I was thinking is a bonus a Patreon exclusive bonus episode with a little bit published for everyone that we're going to be doing. So we're going to be doing a bonus episode per month now, exclusive to Patreon, and the first one coming up is the biology of orcs and goblins. And while we're not going to talk too much about this particular part, but his theology and the way that his theology squares with his own writings definitely changed when it came to orcs specifically. So in my mind, it would be a little bit of life experience, but also him diving more into his own world that he has created, trying to make it more coherent, but also as he's diving more into his theology as well, potentially.
Yeah. So he had two kids. Think about his career and all of his students. Had the publication of The Hobbit, World War II, where he was an air raid warden, and his sons were in the military, being a part of the Inklings.
Oh yeah, and he was very upset that his son became a pilot.
Yes. which we've talked about.
We've talked about previously.
Yeah.
I just think it's just an interesting note because that is something you see a lot in his writings.
Right. And
It's just about air warfare.
well, and it's interesting. So I
So
found
I'm assuming we're going to see more of that because at least in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and which is the extent of my experience, there's mentions of it.
so and I talked about, and he had favorite students, and one of the ones
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention is Mary Chadlands, which is the pen name for Mary Renault. Um, a bunch of his female students,
Mm-hmm.
continued on into either studying this type of stuff or did more research on the
That
legends.
that name is
Yes, it
familiar.
is.
Is she? Is she? Did she write Howl's Moving Castle? Is that her?
She wrote lesbian historic novels and male historic novels.
What does that even mean? What?
So, some of the books that she wrote,
Mm-hmm.
1939, Purposes of Love had a very interesting lesbian character in it. Then when you get to gay men novels, The Charioteer,
Oh, okay, that I'm familiar with.
1953.
I just looked up Howl's Moving Castle real fast because it was going to kill me. It's Diana Wayne Jones. I'm sorry, Evie.
There was nothing similar to that name.
Oh. She was also one of Tolkien's students. I do remember that because Evie is obsessed with her and loves her. So I'm sorry, babes, as one of our hosts on The Hobbit. I'm so sorry, girl, that I got that wrong.
So she also wrote The Last of the Wine, Fire from Heaven, which is about Alexander the Great. And then the Persian boy. And
So I
then,
need to read that because I
wait. I'm not done. And the Persian boy, which is about his lover. That's why I'm mentioning this.
That's honestly hilarious. All roads lead to Alexander the Great, apparently, in my life, because I talk about how he was history's greatest fanboy. He wrote the first fan fiction, folks. That's a true statement that I can't believe is real, but I love it.
Yeah, so after that, retirement, C.S. Lewis died in 1963. His wife died in 1971. Reason his notes end in 1973 is because that's when he died.
It's more like an inconvenience, is the way you said that.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, being Christopher would probably agree, honestly.
Yeah. So he worked on the Jerusalem Bible from 1957 to 61. He was a main editor on it. He wrote the translation for Jonah, and he basically rewrote the translation for Job. The On Fairies lecture in 1939.
Which is something that we are going to be talking about. We put it off because there's something else we're going to be talking about. And that's something we're going to mention a little later about why that's important.
Yes, dear.
You're ridiculous.
And that's it.
Okay.
That's it for the question that I was asking you.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense with that. Since I kind of alluded to it, do we want to make our big announcement right now? We probably should have done that at the beginning of the episode, but why not? Let's just do it right now before we really get into the meat of the foreword.
Big announcement. Bum, ba-da-bum, ba-bum.
So this episode is slated to come out May 12th, which, yeah, we're really pushing our limits here because we're recording it April 30th. It's been a really hard spring health-wise, folks. Thank you for being patient and understanding. But the weekend of or Memorial Day weekend, later in May, we are going to be at Balticon yet again. And this time, we're actually going to be doing a live podcast recording.
Yay.
We still need to get final details of when that will be at Balticon. Are you checking your email again?
No, well, yeah, I was going to check my email real fast so I can mention the panels I'm on.
Oh, do we want to go ahead and just do that?
Or do you want to put it in the notes?
We'll put it in the notes because your schedule is mostly solidified. Mine is still in the works because I'm a main science guest. So other panels, unfortunately, are going to have to give way because I'm just going to be way overbooked because I'm one of the featured science guests again, which I'm excited for. I'm going to be talking some more marine biology stuff and anatomy of mythical beasts and monsters, which is why our first bonus episode is on the biology of orcs and goblins, since that's literally just what I do right now in general. But what we're really excited for, like I said, is our live podcast recording, which we were going to talk about the influence of the fairy books and stories on Tolkien. But with the announcement from Stephen Colbert that they're working on a they're working on a movie from some of the chapters that are skipped over from the original Lord of the Rings movies, we decided we're going to be doing a live podcast discussing those specific chapters, not necessarily what's in the chapters, but more like why it was skipped over and why they're still important to the story and how skipping them did kind of change the characters and plot just slightly enough where the main vibe of Lord of the Rings was still there, but those chapters especially it completely changed my perception of Merry and Pippin, and I went from already loving them to like adoring them more,
Right.
Because you get more of them and Sam in these early chapters, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, and this podcast is going to be a big challenge because we only have an hour window.
Oh no, that's right. And we are the famous rabbit hole people, as we've already done two. Mostly my fault. We're gonna have to. We're gonna have to have a. I'm gonna have to get one of the volunteers or something to be like to hand up like a rabbit at the end of the hall when we start going on a rabbit hole to stop.
So, but I also want to mention my presentation.
Okay, yes, yeah, because that relates to Tolkien, yeah.
Well, kind of. It relates to the Inklings.
Mhm.
So I am doing I'm doing a presentation on Christian fantasy and science fiction writers, focusing a little on C.S. Lewis, but then there's also others to talk about there. And I'm really struggling to get that down to an hour right now.
I feel that.
So,
yeah.
And that's going to be Sunday afternoon.
Yes, yeah. Your whole schedule is set. My schedule.
Like I said, we can put all my.
Yeah, we'll put that in the notes and we'll put that up on our socials and everything.
Because I think I have 6 panels.
Yeah, I got an email from one of the panel directors being like, hey, so I realize we overbooked you. What are you willing to give up? And I'm like, sad face. But I gave her the list, so I'll see what my new schedule is like.
But we actually get to do one together.
Yes. It has nothing to do with Tolkien. It's about
DC and Marvel Comics.
Yeah, it's about introducing new people and getting into DC and Marvel Comics for the first time. It's like Comics 101 or something like that. And we very specifically wanted to be on that together because we weren't on any panels together last year and we were really sad about it. So at least we have one.
Right, let's continue.
So, any other information, background on the Silmarillion or Foreword, or
I got some on the Foreword I want to talk about.
Okay.
I got some.
Do we want to talk about the meat of it first, or?
Well, this is kind of going through meat as well.
So why don't we talk about the meat of it, and then if there's something that is relevant, do you want to just go just talk about that as we move through the forward?
Well, so most of mine is going to be all about the one topic. So I'll start with that. Okay?
Okay.
And then we have discussion about the other stuff. Okay, so in the forward he mentions he's written the most coherent narrative.
It does. Okay. I'm gonna argue that he doesn't. I know where you're going with this because you did prep me slightly. he doesn't say that he wrote the most coherent. He said he did his best to compile it in the most coherent. Because again, half the foreword is Christopher Tolkien just going, I did my best, guys. Don't yell at me. Because there's a quote, hold on, there is a quote I wrote down. Give me a second. Yes, so I wrote this quote down because I laughed so hard when I read it. A complete consistency is not to be looked for and could only be achieved, if at all, at heavy and needless cost. So even he's like, there's no way to do it.
Okay. So these are some of my pet peeves too.
Oh God. Okay.
My long-held pet peeves ever since I read it for the first time.
Okay. The foreword or the Silmarillion?
The foreword, and the foreword and the Silmarillion. So, incomplete story arcs. The fall of of Gondolin in the Silmarillion is not complete, according to what we know from Lost Tales.
But that came later.
No,
and like at the end of the
Lost Tales were not.
I thought
No.
it was
Lost Tales were published before.
Oh, okay.
So the war of the Wraith. Earlier versions have added depth.
Okay.
Okay. This is my biggie. He could have talked about Balrogs more clearly.
Do you mean Christopher or Tolkien?
Christopher.
Because the way that I read the foreword is he said that it was that he did it specifically to his father's wishes of what was included specifically in the Silmarillion.
Okay, yes.
Is what he says.
Okay, but let me go.
Okay.
So there's no defining answer about the Balrog. So, and the biggie for me is whether Balrogs have wings or not.
Oh.
Okay? So, at the bridge where Gandalf goes, "You shall not pass," it says he has 2 vast wings spread from wall to wall.
Okay.
So, if they have wings, why did Morgoth need to create dragons to counter the eagles?
Maybe even if they had wings, they couldn't fly like penguins, and now I'm just imagining penguin wings. That is something interesting because that is going to be an ongoing series, is me basically talking about the speculative anatomy of the mythical creatures in Tolkien's work. Again, since that's become my hobby, is just that in general of mythical creatures. But yeah, just because he has wings doesn't mean he can fly, because I will go on my soapbox about dragons later, about how their wings are incorrect without magic.
So, but they're magical.
We'll talk about it.
Balrogs are magical. They were created, and then he took spirit and put into them in order to, in my words, animate them. Anyway, that's all.
Okay, so remember, I have not read the Silmarillion, and again, we're going to do this the same way that we've been doing the format for everything, just going chapter by chapter. So
very long chapter.
So is he? I know you've mentally prepared me for this. But does it go into the creation of Balrogs?
It doesn't. It does. It talks about him. It talks about it a little bit.
So if it's a little bit, then we don't have an in-depth thing yet.
Well, but see,
it could be similar to how we have like the orcs and goblins, where he kept changing his mind.
But he could have at least chose either one of JRRs or the other of JRRs. Okay, because so in Lord of the Rings, they have wings.
Okay,
and he mentions it twice.
Okay,
shadow wings and wings that stretch from wall to wall. So,
if shadow wings, then yeah, I can't imagine that they would fly.
But they're made of shadow.
Yeah, that's not.
If he can swing a sword, his wings can fly.
But
because they're made out of the same material.
So is he just made of shadows and? Okay, we're getting too much into things.
All right. So right.
Hold on. We're getting too much into Balrogs. We need.
No. No, my point is that Tolkien wrote two different things.
Okay.
From 1917 to 1940, they were wingless until The Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Well, maybe he developed it and changed it.
No, what I'm saying is, why didn't Christopher choose to clarify this very important thing in two different places?
I swear, if there's like just the briefest mention of Balrogs in this, because the Silmarillion does not feel like the text where that's going to be explored. It doesn't feel like this is
Oh,
hill
you
to
haven't
die
read the
for this book.
Silmarillion yet.
That's
No,
true. Okay.
No.
How about this?
No, I know. I said it was my biggest pet peeve.
Okay, let's put a pen in this, and then after we get there, we will read. I will decide from there because I feel like you're blowing this way out of proportion. This feels like an oat, and that's coming from me.
Secondly, speaking of dragons, okay, so there are two types of dragons or drakes.
You know this is about the foreword, right? And neither of these are mentioned in the foreword. Why are we...
No, because he tried to put the most coherent narrative, and in my opinion, the answer is he didn't, and these are two examples.
Okay, well, we're getting to... Yeah, okay.
I'm done.
We could have... This could have been an email. No. Yeah, let's just, when we get there, you can go on your rant about it, okay? Because that felt like, again, that just confused me because it's not mentioned anywhere.
You can edit it out if you wish.
No, I'm keeping it in because the people need to know how these effing conversations go. But
okay. So, all right. So, we'll get back to the preface.
Anyway,
so the preface was...
It's not the preface, it's the foreword. The preface is something different.
Oh, well,
you're in the wrong spot. Again.
I turned my page. Because I'm done.
You put back on the preface again.
Because I'm done. I don't have anything else to say about the foreword.
Except, the whole freaking foreword.
So from the foreword, what do you expect? Regardless of what I said.
Okay, can we get through the foreword first?
No.
Because for me, it's all new information. And I literally had to look up so many different, terms. To which I went spoiler, because it felt like the very first couple paragraphs immediately was just like, it's the story of Morgoth and Melkor and Valor and the Silmarils. And that's the first time I even knew that Silmarils was a thing, which makes sense that it's the Silmarillion about the Silmarils. But it's like...
But the first part isn't.
Well... According to the foreword, the introductory to stuff before the what was it, the Quintal Silmarillion proper, Tolkien himself was like, this needs to be the way it is. But yeah, so again, it is compiled with notes as early as 1917.
I haven't recorded in forever, and I have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Can tell. But one of the quotes that I really liked when he was talking about compiling it and how his father worked on it pretty much until right up until he died, he says what I think is an interesting quote: "The old legends became a vehicle and depository of his profoundest reflections." So that almost to me sounds like, without getting into it, the Balrog and all of that stuff, where it's what he eventually settled on versus anything else.
I understand.
And then Snow, my turn. And again, he talks about trying to produce the most coherent. And again, I want to point out this quote because again, I think it's so funny. A complete consistency is not to be looked for, and could only be achieved, if at all, at heavy and needless cost. And that just sounded like Christopher saying in the politest way possible, this drove me mad, and I had to just stop where I stopped. Because again, maybe he just went crazy and he just nope, I'm not doing any more in the Balrogs.
Yep.
Um, and that he talks about that the writing of the Silmarillion itself um, was intentionally written by his father to be just like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, where it's ancient old text and oral stories being transcribed into English for us here.
It was world creating, just like any good DM does.
Well, yes, but the way it's no, but like the format and the way it's written
Oh, yeah.
is what I'm talking about. How he made it consistent with the way that he wrote Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, where it's stories of old that he's translating and transcribing, which is I think is interesting. And then again, he talks about the Quinta Silmarillion, and it's tons of chapters that I saw in the table of contents. But there are several independent short stories that are wholly separate, but Tolkien explicitly wanted them in this certain order around the Silmarillion proper for continued context and information. And Christopher then talks about that he did include some stuff, like all the Elvish names and how to pronounce them, as well as extra info and genealogy for the important people, and then maps, just again to help us, the reader, understand because it's so much. But he does also explicitly state that he added no commentary or annotation um, because he just wants his father's work to be able to speak for itself the way that he wanted. And then at the very end, he did a shout out to Guy Kay, who was his assistant while doing all of this.
Yep.
Because, yeah, I can imagine you would need some help trying to organize all of his thoughts.
And Guy Kay, he's a Canadian fantasy writer. He's won many awards.
Mm-hmm.
He's been awarded the order of the Canadian Order of something, which basically makes him a knight.
Okay.
In the British realm.
Cool.
He helped solve the significant narrative problems in the book.
Okay.
So
nice. So that's the foreword. And then you were going to ask me.
So what are you, from the foreword alone, what are you expecting?
Well, like I said, there was a lot of information where I'm like, spoilers, because I feel like I've heard the name Morgoth before, but I wasn't familiar with Melkor, and
Same person.
I've learned.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. And then that the Cimmerils, I try not to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil it, because I do want to, enjoy reading it and being surprised. But apparently there are 3 indestructible gems that contain the light of the 2 trees of Valinor, which I am familiar with Valinor and the West. Yes, the West. Okay. So I'm assuming that we're just gonna get like a lot of world building. It seems it kind of mentions it's basically the story of the First Age, and I know Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and everything is the Third Age. So I am interested in that to see exactly how that all plays out. Because even though it's going to be in our next episode, we do also read the letter Tolkien wrote to his editor. And so I already read that part as well, where he was saying, trying to make the argument that to understand the Lord of the Rings, you need to read the Silmarillion. So I'm guessing that a lot of those like questions and background stuff we're going to get for that.
Yeah. And so I mean, I haven't read in a long time, so I'm really expecting to have a lot of, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
what are you expecting to get out of this new reading, looking into it deeper in our podcast format?
Well, one, I have not read this since I've gotten into, theological backgrounds of Tolkien and most of the Inklings and so forth like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really going to see that be dove into
Okay.
a lot.
Okay.
Um, so that's what I'm expecting to be able to bring some more stuff because it will be new for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. All right. Well, our Balrog rabbit hole aside, I think that's all of this is a good place to stop.
No, preface.
No, we're doing the preface with the letter
Oh,
because the preface also like is the preface to the letter as well. Yeah.
thought we were doing the preface first.
No.
Then why I write all these notes?
Because we're recording back to back. Can you tell it's been a while, folks? We'll get back into it.
Very.
We'll figure this out. All right. Well,
I've been Robert,
I've been Evelyn.
and this is Token about it.
See you later.